The Daily Res Show with Jack Wilson.
And we'll make sure we got a microphone going on here. There we go. Okay. Hey, how you doing? So it's a beautiful day today. Man, we had some wild, crazy winter weather, didn't we? It's middle of the week, and last week was cold. The weekend was crazy cold, and we've been burning a fireplace regularly here, and it's starting to warm up now. So before I get started, I did some emails, excuse me, but over the weekend we watched a documentary about Mel Brooks. I think it's called The 99-Year-Old Man, something like that. We watched it on HBO. There was part one, part two. They're kind of long each, over 2 hours. But it was really interesting. So if anyone gets a chance to watch it, watch it. I learned a lot of things about Mel Brooks. It was about his life from, when when he was young all the way up through to today. And he's going to be, he's 99 now, he's going to be 100 in June, I think June of this year. But anyway, it was really interesting. I learned a lot about Mel Brooks. He's quite a guy. I wasn't a great fan of him for a while, but then I kind of became a fan of him because of some of the movies he did. But he also did a lot of movies that we don't know about, that he did not put his name on, and he did it for reasons that really make sense now. He gave them kind of carte blanche on doing the movies. He would step in occasionally, but he didn't interfere with them, but he did not put his name on them. He did it under, I think it was Brooks Productions, so kind of anonymous. But he didn't want his name on it because he did not want people to think it was a comedic venture, and it wasn't a comedy movie, because some of these were very serious movies. I mean, one that comes to mind was The Elephant Man. And the other thing then that I learned was about Anne Bancroft. I guess I kind of knew he was married to Anne Bancroft, but I didn't really, just didn't register too much with me. She was a star when they met, and he kind of followed her and stalked her, I guess. But anyway, they were married, and they were really quite a couple, and they kind of adored each other. And she was in several of his productions. She was in The Elephant Man, and she was in some other movies of his. And she was a very well-known star. But anyway, the interesting thing that I didn't know, we all think movie stars and celebrities are wealthy. And we just kind of think they're always wealthy. That's not true. When Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft were married in their early years, he was broke. And he says, I didn't have a dime. He was so broke that, and it's in the documentary, that when they went out to dinner, she paid. She had to pay. He had no money. But she still supported him in what he was doing and what he did, and had that much confidence in him. Even, in the beginning and then through the later years. And they performed together. and it was very interesting. And he made so many stars. I mean, he made I don't know, so many different stars got their start with Mel Brooks, and their names may come to mind here in a little bit. But if you get it, Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder was kind of nothing until he went into the Mel Brooks movie Blazing Saddles. I think that was his start when he did Blazing Saddles with Mel Brooks. And then, of course, he did Young Frankenstein, and they collaborated on Young Frankenstein. But anyway, I go on and on. And then one more quick thing before I get off of this was his friendship with Carl Reiner. You know, when Mel Brooks started, he couldn't even get a job. He couldn't get a job. And he was on most people won't know this, but the Star of Stars, I think, was an old TV drama in the 50s. And it was Sid Caesar and Carl Reiner and just a lot of comedians that were in that. And he couldn't get a job, and he was a writer on that show, but they wouldn't pay him. And Sid Caesar paid him out of his own pocket while he was doing the writing on that show. Sid Caesar paid him, and even gave him a raise. So there you go. And Carl Reiner was his real pal. I mean, they were like, he considered, I guess, Carl Reiner like his father, and adored him. And in their later years, when and you'll see all this in the documentary. I'm not smart. I'm just kind of reflecting from what I watched. But when they were in their later years, when their wives died, I'm talking Carl Reiner's wife and Mel Brooks, when Anne Bancroft passed away, Mel Brooks would go over to Carl Reiner's house every night. Every night he would go over, and they would watch Wheel of Fortune on television and eat deli sandwiches on TV trays every night. That's what they did. And sometimes they would fall asleep in the chair, and Mel Brooks would just fall asleep there. But he went over to Carl Reiner's every night and did that. And then he was there, of course, when Carl Reiner died. He was right there in the house when Carl Reiner died. And after he died, he asked Rob if it was okay to go over to the house. For 4 months, he went over to the house and did the same routine that he did with Carl when he was alive. He would sit there in the chair, watch Wheel of Fortune, and eat the deli sandwiches. And he did that for 4 months. And he told Rob, he said, when you sell the house, just let me know. But he had a key. Every night he went over there. So many little things. I mean, both of the documentaries were probably close to 5 hours. So interesting, so interesting. The life of these people that we think had everything. You know what? At one time, they did not. They struggled. They really struggled. So anyway, if you get a chance, that's my recommendation. Watch the Mel Brooks documentaries on HBO, and it's not only entertaining; it's really informative. But anyway, so I'm going to go. A couple of emails. I don't know, somebody asked me what kind of music I listen to. I think it was my brother. I'm not real sure, whoever it was. They asked me what kind of music I listen to. Well, I used to listen to country music. I don't listen to country music anymore. Unless I have to. And I don't have to, so I don't. But what I listen to now is mainly, and I made some notes here, by the way. What I listen to now is mainly deep house, down-tempo, electronic, and trance music. Well, also, depending on the mood and reflection, I listen to on Pandora what's called French cooking music and yoga. Yoga we listen to when we are going to bed. And French cooking music, we kind of put that on. I don't know to explain it. I don't know much about music, but it's like French music. And we put that on when we're, having guests or something. It's kind of like background listening music. And, but when I'm working around the house or if I'm in the car driving, I listen to deep house music or down tempo. I don't know how to explain down tempo, but it is what it is. And but deep house music is kind of, I think it's like 123, 125 beats per minute, 123, 125 BPM. Keeps me awake, keeps me motivated, and there you go. So my favorite artists, okay. I'm going to mention some here. One is Le Youth. This is deep house music now. Le Youth, Avoir, Eli and Fur. I really like their music. They collaborate a lot with some other artists. Ben Bomer, Cascade, Davi. Now, a lot of times they're not groups. They're just single artists that do create music on turntables and that, and they play a lot of venues where people are dancing, and you can see them on the internet. You can get it on the internet, but they do a lot of venues. Not so much in this country, mostly around the world, in Europe and other countries. That's very popular music. And but anyway, the artists, they're not groups. These are individuals, maybe a couple of them, and they create their music on these electronic systems. 16-bit Lolitas, Jaws, that's Jauz, Jaws, Yoto, Lipless, Vandalux, Satin Jackets, Lane 8, Jan Blomqvist, Elderbrook, Resident, many, many more. But I usually go to Pandora and set up stations with those individual artists. And then through the algorithms, Pandora will choose music, I guess because of the beats per minute or however they do it, choose the music and play similar music on that particular station. Like if I have an Eli and Fur station or an Avoir station, it will pick different artists to play that type of music. French cooking music station, it will play French cooking music. No, it will play French music, French type music. Yoga, again, the same thing. It will play yoga artists and yoga music. So that's what I listen to, and it's on my computers, it's on my phones, and I can listen. And it's in my car. I have Sirius in the car that I listen to, but then I can also listen to Pandora in the car. I'm not selling Pandora, it's just what I have. And that's it. So those are the notes of the things that I wanted to kind of cover on that. And then I also did a commentary, and I think I'm going to kind of get into that, the commentary that I came up with, because of all the things that are going on with Trump, and you can't keep up with this guy. But I'm almost getting tired of talking about him. So I want to do this commentary that I come up with, but I'm going to probably try to begin going in some different directions because it's like depressing to talk about this guy. First of all, the reason is I'm talking to a group of people that if you're listening to me, I don't like the guy. And all I want to do is roll over the Republican Party and get other people in there that are not gangsters and Gestapo and whatever. So we're not going to convince, I've said it again and again and again, we're not going to convince the 45% hanger-ons, the 47%, whatever it is. Those people are in a cult, and it's like trying to convince somebody that used to go to this David Koresh, and you're not going to convince these people. So it's like a waste of breath to try to convince them and stop, to move over and begin looking at different perspectives. That's a waste of time. So I want to try and move on to other things, later on in the podcasts. And I keep saying that, but I need to really get focused in it. We're doing so many other things going on here in New Mexico and changing things. But I do want to move on from Donald Trump, but I can't till we do something with the elections midterm. I mean, that's so important to get these midterm elections done, but it's depressing talking about, especially with the things that are going on in Minnesota. It's easier for me to write an article about it because I can kind of vent on that. And I don't want to make my podcasts venting podcasts. That's not the purpose of them. I want to have some fun with it. I do want to vent, but I want to have some fun with them and enjoy the interaction, with that. So, okay. So moving on, I'm going to try to move over to some commentary, and we'll do that. So, I went to the gym last week, and while I was on the machine, I watched Donald Trump and his over 1 hour speech at the Economic Forum in Switzerland. I didn't want to watch, but it was so much like a car crash that I couldn't stop. I'm not going to waste a lot of time covering the speech. We've probably already seen it. And I mean, the short description is that it was just a meandering pile. And, after all of his threats, it turned out he embarrassed himself by not being able to close on his Greenland threats. And we all know what he was talking about on Greenland. It was all smoke. The whole thing was just smoke. So how did we get to that point? This is the topic, really. It has to do with Stephen Miller. Trump and Stephen Miller are two dreamweavers. Stephen Miller holds one of the most important positions in the government, and it did not require Senate approval. He's the right-hand man to Donald Trump and the major input for Trump's decision-making that just literally changes on a daily basis. So Stephen Miller serves as White House Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security Advisor, whatever those positions are. But anyway, both of these positions did not require Senate approval. And yes, he is paid by the government. Miller has long ties to Trump and the Republican Party, and he also holds significant personal investments that are influenced by Republican Party decisions. One of those is Palantir Technologies. They have contracts with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or better known as ICE. And it goes without saying that Miller helped shape the policies of ICE. So for those who are not aware, ICE is the result of the Immigration and Naturalization Service, or what was known as the INS, being discontinued and merged with ICE and DHS in 2003. Where the INS was more of an immigration processing body, ICE is more paramilitary. With its aggressive raid tactics, ICE is being compared more to a secret police force, and they're acting like it a lot. So does Stephen Miller benefit from the extended use of ICE forces? Yeah, probably does, given the fact that he's invested. While the ICE agents are in fact employed by the federal government, Palantir, a private tech company, sells data analysis software to government agencies, including ICE. So it would seem he may benefit from his investments. Does Miller influence Trump? Of course he does, every day. Stephen Miller is known for his hardline stances and role in shaping the administration's controversial immigration and international policies. His background with Trump and the Republican Party has positioned him as the major player in the White House. He's the guy. Miller's influence can be seen in many aspects of Trump's policy decisions, mainly in immigration and national security. His views favor stricter and more aggressive immigration controls and national security. The alignment of their ideologies implies that Miller didn't just influence Trump, he helped define and increase Trump's existing beliefs. By promoting a more isolationist approach, he aligned with Trump's vision of America First, which prioritizes American interests over global engagement. That's talking to our allies. This demonstrates how Stephen Miller's perspectives are not only influential, but are also the narrative of Trump's presidency. Miller's influence is not limited to domestic policy. His views on foreign affairs, immigration, and refugee policies play an important role in shaping the United States' international policies. So why does Stephen Miller have so much influence? Others are beginning to question that too. Some are in the Republican Party. His tough guy act is starting to wear thin. Stephen Miller's influence on the Greenland narrative could be seen and felt in the ridiculous and embarrassing speech that Trump gave in Switzerland. Miller's no shrinking violet and wanting to portray the United States as the tough guys on the block. His recent interviews and statements are frightening to listen to, and they sound like the leader of a police state. This guy actually believes it's okay to grab land from a NATO partner. He believes that. Miller's nothing but a grifter. He is a hanger-on in the Republican Party who is granted money for espousing views for those afraid to promote their own views. These are people who have an agenda, but they want to stay out of the mainstream media and out of the public view. Why? Because they are unpopular views and difficult to promote, difficult to sell to the public. But make no mistake, racism, bigotry, nationalism, xenophobia, white supremacy, and the desire for a totalitarian government are alive and well in the United States. People like Stephen Miller are the leading edge of a movement. They are the mouthpieces being rewarded for standing out in the public view. Everything this administration does is a smokescreen to keep our eyes off the real issues. They have so many activities going on. Who could possibly know what any of them have to do with a policy? Their policies are changing every day. Our international partners no longer trust us, and it is going to take a long time to undo the damage these morons have done to international trust. That's why it's so important to turn this administration and those who support them out into the streets. Miller's role extends beyond policy formulation. He's also a key strategist in shaping the narrative around Trump's presidency. His ability to frame issues in a way that appeals to Trump's supporters allows for a message that reinforces the administration's agenda. This strategy helps solidify Trump's image among his base, promotes a sense of loyalty and support that is critical during all of the controversies in his administration. This constant threats from Trump pointed at adversaries and friends alike are the signature identities of Trump and Miller, discussing plans not taking shape to their liking. If a country doesn't agree with something Trump wants, he'll increase the tariffs. If Greenland doesn't acquiesce, we may need to just take it. That fell on its face because NATO said, F you. The relationship between Miller and Trump, it just exemplifies how one advisor can impact a presidency. This guy is so influential. I've said it before, and we can see it now on the streets of our country. These guys are just common, everyday, run-of-the-mill thugs. They have taken a federal agency and militarized it to be their own private police force. And they think it's okay. I mean, they think that's normal. We know how we got here. Only 64% of eligible voters turned out for the election, and that is, believe it or not, about normal. Too many people stay home. But half of those have some sense of citizenship in this country, and that I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand what their sense of citizenship is. And the leaders we have today is a result of giving up. Or maybe it's where the United States is going in terms of government leadership. I mean, I hope not. But I'm sure that Trump and his gang have somehow answered a predisposition in some people's minds. I promise you it is a ploy and tactic that has been used before to turn you and me against each other, or turn us against each other. So if you put your energy and efforts to vote these thugs out of positions of power and send a message to those they work for that this country is still represented by the average man and not controlled by the wealthy. This bunch of backyard gangsters think it's okay to bully their own citizens. They're just no different than the hoodlums in middle school who steal the nerds' glasses or grab the girls on the ass in the hallway. But then they graduate to high school and university, and their pranks get serious and costly. These people and those who support them are sick and not normal. What Trump and Miller and their supporters are doing with the NATO confrontation, or what they did with the NATO confrontation, is playing with real consequences and into Putin's plan. He's not going to end the war in Ukraine. Why would he? All he has to do is wait. And before I forget, I want to give a shout of thanks out to Joe Rogan. Not really. Joe, you are as much at fault as anyone for helping to get this guy elected. You, with no small audience, should consider that you carry some weight of responsibility. You abdicated it in favor of endorsing Trump on the eve of the election. Not only did you fuck up on endorsing this guy, but you now have the cheek to say that they're using Gestapo tactics. You were told they were going to do this years ago. I have no delusions that anyone is listening to me and doing what I tell them. I'm not doing these shows for those reasons. I am writing and doing podcasts for me. I'm not trying to entertain anyone. I am venting and keeping my sanity from the lunatic fringe that seems to be creeping into my world. To be clear, Joe, I have never listened to you for more than 30 seconds, maybe a little more. Maybe you're entertaining. I wouldn't know. But others listen to you. They listen to you, and you have a responsibility. So, after all of these opinions, where did I leave off? Just when we think this administration couldn't do anything more mindless, they insist on pissing on our friends and allies of 80 years. For sure, the so-called leaders in Washington are still unconscious or in absolute fear of someone. It has to be fear. Yes? No? I don't know. If they have any power or authority, only a dunce would accept what is happening and not step in to stop it. Why do we allow people with these lack of abilities to be in the position of power and authority over us? I can tell you, because someone elected Donald Trump. I didn't. I didn't vote for the guy. We were warned time and again of his propensity for authoritarianism and his fascination with dictatorships. I mean, it was inevitable that he was going to be like a beacon to others who were of the same mindset. They fell into his orbit like flies to a sack of rotting table scraps. Donald Trump has his special insecurities. He has a deep need for constant validation. All anyone needs to do is heap compliments on him, and he rewards them. This is obvious from his frequent self-congratulatory praise and over-the-top superlatives that seem to emphasize a lack of vocabulary or a need to congratulate himself. Trump could say the sky is green, and his troop of followers would find a 3,000-word clarification that would be more obfuscation of his statement. I guess they can't think on their own. Donald Trump could care less about the benefits of Greenland for our security. We already have that. They are or were a NATO ally and would allow us to install whatever we want in military might for and our protection. And it appears now that that's what's going to happen, that he's going to take credit for it, but all he had to do was ask. This is all about money and ways for Trump to line his deep grifter pockets. Billionaires have been wanting to get their hands on Greenland for decades to advantage their resources and rare earth minerals. They have not been able to achieve any more than making investments there until Trump and his greedy band of minions came into the White House. Then it became the all-important national security issue. They believe the American people are small-minded enough that they believe it. However, now there are some in his own party who are rolling their eyes at Trump and Miller on this one. We can thank the NATO members who have their own plan for Trump and are not intimidated or in fear of him. The term taco for Trump is perfect, but we don't want to use that too much. Putin must be absolutely wetting his pants at what these juvenile delinquents are doing. And anyway, for other people, you must think male pouch tobacco is still popular if you agree with the Trump administration on 90% of what he's doing. It's beginning to feel like the 1950s all over again, and the 60s. I don't know where the former leadership of our country are or have been hiding. Maybe there's a reason for them to be unseen and unheard. I don't know. I hope it's because they are helping to prepare a plan to begin voting these nutcases out of office. Whoever is coming in behind Trump has a giant mess to clean up. And I hope our friends around the world understand this guy is an anomaly, a total anomaly. This is like a winking out of time and space. Another dimension opened in the universe, and this guy came through the door. But it can be reversed. It's almost like writing a new series script for this fucked up episode. We can say goodbye to this episode of the Trump Files, because this is only a 2% share, and it's getting fucking canceled. Does anyone besides me understand that China and Russia are loving this? They are saying to each other, wow, if the U.S. can just take Greenland and Venezuela, they can't argue with us taking Taiwan or Ukraine, or what about Alaska or Hawaii? Does everyone get the picture of the precedents these dumb fucks are setting? I hope so, because I promise you, our adversaries see it. While our civil rights and constitutional rights are being burned before our eyes, the Trump thugs are keeping everyone busy with bait and switch tactics. Everything being done in our face are textbook tactics of totalitarian regimes and autocratic rulers. Trump and his posse did not invent this. They are following tried and tested plans. By the way, remember that J.D. Vance is all over this with his approval. He is a lackey for Miller and Trump. That is not just my word. People have seen him kowtow when Stephen Miller is issuing marching orders. So remember, when you see law enforcement with masks on, it can be only one thing. But there are many names for it. Gestapo, KGB, NKVD, secret police, Stasi. In short, it's a police state. And those are examples of it. Jackboots, one and all. So be prepared to say goodbye to personal freedoms and learn how to respond to papers, please. That's where we're headed if we don't get out and vote, take some responsibility for what's going on. Quit wasting our time trying to convince the other 45%. It'll never happen. It's a cult. We need to spend our time getting votes out. We need to get off the 64%, 65%. We need to get another 10, 15% of votes. And I think we're moving some of the people that were undecided, or maybe were on the fence, and are moving over. So with that, that's my commentary that I wanted to get off of my chest. There are a lot of new things that have happened in the meantime, and we will get back on those on the next show. And if you have any questions or any comments, please send them to me at jackwilson@dailyraz.com. Hope you enjoy the show, and thanks for watching.